is mighty sweet. Liberty sows its seed at Farpoint Farms.
Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains, North Carolina. Today, thanks to fellow YouTuber SevenFoutyOne, and if you haven't checked out his channel, you ought to, he let me know about this item right here. Over the winter, I reviewed a product called the Geartist G301 Powerstation. A 300 watt hour power station, 300 watt max output on 120 and 12 volt out as well. Cool tool, used it to go camping this summer. I spent 3 weeks living out of my car, used a 100 watt solar panel, charged it during the day, used it during the night. And I've really come to like these things. They're silent, they recharge off of solar, they're really neat. The big downfall to the Geartist, which this corrects, is the inability to both charge and power things at the same time. I mean, it's great to be able to charge something up and reuse it, but I wanted to be able to like run items. I have a 12 volt fridge that it's called a thermo something cooler, but it's like a fridge. And I wanted to be able to have that running directly off the solar panels using one of these things as like the in-between. And you just couldn't do it with that. So this kind of solves all those problems. It's also a whole lot more powerful. This is a well, I'll go ahead. It's $595, but it's 600 watt hours, which is twice the battery capacity. It's also 600 watts with 1,000 watt surge, so it should be able to run a lot more items. And you know, we saw a couple weeks ago, we bought a low wattage washer and dryer for the house as we try to move more off grid. So right along with all this stuff that I've been purchasing and all these moves that we're making to be a little bit more self-sufficient here on the farm, this is awesome. So let's go ahead and open it up. I haven't tried it out yet, so I'm saying it's awesome in the sense that it's an awesome idea. Let's hope that the product lives up to what I expect out of it. If it's half as good or twice as good or even as good as the Geartist, well, then it's going to be a great item. It certainly is heavier, and when it came in the mail the other day, I was surprised. But of course, even at lithium ion, if we have a ton of battery capacity, we're going to have a ton of weight to go with it. I'll take everything out and then we'll, oh yeah, it's a lot bigger than the Geartist as well. Wow, okay, very cool. All right, so this, I would say, maybe twice as heavy as the other one, and that's because of the reserve capacity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera closer in. We're going to go through all the features and functions on this thing, and then I'm going to show you how to charge it off of solar. And it's going to be interesting, but I'll show you what it is I do here to power all this equipment. I mean, you see a lot of radio equipment here that this thing here should be able to handle running any one of these items individually by itself off grid and for extended periods of time. So there's a lot of uses for these, but for the prepper, the survivalist, the homesteader, anybody who's interested in going off-grid or having off-grid capabilities, these little power stations, if you haven't heard of them, are a great option for that. Anyway, let's get the camera closer and take a look. All right, so we'll set the unit back here for a second. Let's go through what we have in the box. All right, and here's our manual. 600 watt portable power station, user's manual. Not a lot to it, but there's not a lot going on here. Just some facts there, so we'll set that aside. And then we've got our power pack here. This is for charging it off of, wall outlet voltage. Output 24 volts, 4 amps, so pretty good power there. And then in this box, we have some other cabling here. And that would be the other half of this. And we also have a way to charge it off of a vehicle or off of another 12 volt source. One thing you want to be aware of with this is to recharge this battery would drain your battery. So if you're going to use this with a vehicle, that vehicle needs to be running, right? So just so you're aware of that. All right, let's take a look at this thing though. This is really nice. It definitely feels more stout than the Geartist, I'm not gonna lie. Looks like we might have a fan back here. We've got some vents here, so we'll plug that in. On the back, we have a nice light here, camping light. Go ahead and see. Oh yeah, so it does have a charge on it already. So that's cool. Oh, different brightness levels. And an emergency mode, it looks like. And then back to off. On this end, we have our input, 12 volts to 30 volts. I like that. So we can run this thing as off of a regular solar panel without any issues there. And that's pretty cool. On the front, another thing I did not like about the Geartist It did not have a built-in 12-volt cigarette outlet like that, a 12-volt outlet. It had an adapter. You plug the adapter in, and then that had a 12-volt thing. But that's an extra piece of wire that could get lost or whatever. And that was the one problem I just didn't like about that. On this side, 110 or 120 volt out, 600 watts out. There we go. We got 2 plugs. No ground. That's okay. And then, what's that button? I don't know. We'll have to look. We got buttons over here. Oh, that's probably to... Yeah, it's good to read the manual, right? So we have 10 amp out on the 12 volt side. We also have USB ports and looks like a USB-C maybe. So 3 different ways of charging items there. We'll go ahead and power it up. It does have a nice screen here. And there we go. Comes from the factory with a 79% charge. That was awfully gracious of them to do so. So I'm going to bet if we push that, yeah, okay. So we got our car output lit up. And at 0 watts output, well, we have an infinite, or in this case, 99-hour output. So that is cool. Actually, that is really cool. So tell you what I'm going to do. Hold on one second. I'm going to lay this thing flat down. I have got this, which is one of the radios. I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to try to plug that in. There we go. And it's going to come up with my wattage. And now you can see at 4 watts out, which is the resting voltage, 70 hours of life left. I love the fact that this thing is going to give you an idea how long something's going to work. And if I key down, I bet she jumps up. You betcha, right? So, very cool. Very cool. I like that a lot, actually. Okay, let's see. Let's turn that off. We'll unplug this. Let's go off of 12 volts. And I don't know what I could charge off of the USB, so I'm going to skip over that right now. But let's go ahead and turn on the main power here. All right, and we got AC on, output wattage, and again, hours rating. So let me grab something. We'll fire it up. All right, so here we go. We got it set up, and you'll notice the light goes off here. That's probably to conserve battery power. But I've got the trusty old Cobra 142 GTL. Plug that booger in. And let's see here. All right, so automatically our watts start going up, and that's interesting. I like the fact that it's even showing 26 hours on the AC side. That's on standby. That's with it off. So this thing does have some parasitic draw. But let me go ahead and turn it on. And you can see wattage going up. Looks like we're going to have 20 watts, 16 hours of use. So check it out. I mean, this is not maybe the greatest example of what you would want to use something like this for, but turned on, let me go ahead and get that turned on again. Turned on monitoring off a CB base station, 16 hours worth of use off of partial charge. Let's call it maybe 18 hours with a full charge on there. Obviously, if you're doing some talking, that is going to change drastically. I would probably say half that amount. So to give you an idea of what these would be good for and how long they would use, you can kind of do a little quick math. In an emergency situation, this one right here will run off of 12 volts. But let's say, I don't know, let's say it's a regular radio in your house. Let's say you want to keep up with AM and FM. Let's say you want to plug in a TV set, and I can certainly do that. I've got some stuff we could power up here. All right, so I've got something way bigger to set up than a TV set. This is my little radio station, right? Let me get this out of the way for a second. We have a laptop, we have a mixer board, we have an FM transmitter, we have an AM transmitter, and off screen here, we have another laptop. So we have 2 laptops, 2 radio transmitters, the mixer board powering up all the other goodies involved. And all this is transmitting. That's going out in the net, that's going out in the net. Both these are going out over the air. And I've got it all unplugged right now, so the stations are both powered down. That's a lot of wattage. I don't know how much wattage it is, but let's see if this can fire that up. So I'm going to plug it in. And I'm going to turn it on. There we go. And let's turn everything on little by little. I want to see what this thing's putting out here just on itself. You can hear the fan kick on this time. It's coming up to speed. All right, so now everything is fired up. That laptop is on, that radio transmitter's on, this radio transmitter's on, the mixer board is on, this laptop is on and streaming over the web. And what we have here is, oh, where'd it go? 5.4 hours. 5.4 hours is drawing 53 watts, or no, 68 watts. 5.4 hours of emergency use. So if the power went out, let's say you had a hurricane, something like that, and you were running a community broadcast setup like this, you have the ability to communicate or to transmit for 5.5 hours. You can hear the fan coming on for the transmitter now. This fan's not running yet, so again, this, even with all this stuff going on, it's not even all that much wattage. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And again, that's at 80% charge, so you probably get maybe 6 hours out of it. Not bad. Now, let's go out and let's try hooking this thing up to a solar panel, and let's make sure that this is as advertised and that it can both charge and discharge at the same time. We've got my thermal cooler and a 100-watt solar panel. I'm going to plug it in and we're going to see if we can operate both, because that'll give you basically during sunlight hours unlimited power up to 100 watts. So if I plugged a solar panel, which after buying this you can probably guess what I'm about to do, I am going to be hooking this to a 100-watt solar panel on the roof. And I'm going to be drawing my 68 watts, which means that every hour that this thing is out in the sunlight, 20 watts will still be going to charge this thing. And then at night, this will run off of the battery completely. So this will be a completely off-grid setup. Pretty cool, isn't it? Let's go make sure that that works. All right, as you can see, I've got one 100-watt solar panel. I've got the old mutt out here to show off all this cool stuff. And it's got a plug directly attached to that, so no charge controller. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the side here, and let's see what happens. Immediately it starts charging. You can see a little symbol here for the fan, 78%, and you can see the wattage coming in, which is really awesome. So right now in partial sunlight on a hazy day, I've got 55, 58 watts coming in, and I'll zoom in on that here in a second. But so we have our power coming in. Let's see if I hook up this, which is my Wagon Tech thermal cooler, which is hooked to 12 volts in. I'm going to plug that into the 12 volts in here. Okay, and then I'm going to turn that on. And you can hear it running. It works. This is really cool. This solves all the problems that I was having with the other unit that I tested out here. This is a vastly superior product based just on those tests alone. And you can see the fan is running. I'm now drawing 71 watts out of the solar panels, which is actually pretty good performance, which should give you 24-hour performance out of it. Awesome. I guess the last test I'll do is to make sure that it also works on the 110 side while it is charging off of solar. Okay, so I've got the AC turned on and it's saying 1.1 hour to full recharge. Let's go ahead and plug this in and let's see if the radio will come on for us. Yep. Awesome. So it is able to recharge and still operate as an inverter, as a battery backup source. Very cool, very cool. Let's go back into the shop and wrap this video up. So there it is. I don't know really what else I can say about it. That is the Oupes 600 watt, 1000 watt peak. So that's pretty potent stuff right there. And it has the 595 watt hour battery in there, lithium ion. So that thing's gonna last a good long time. I love the fact that we have the watts in, the watts out, the state of charge really, and how many hours it'll operate at that wattage listed right here on this nice screen. I like that it times out by itself so it doesn't waste any electricity on its own. I love the fact that it's got the built-in 12 volt out. USB, I don't know, man, you can still charge stuff with USB. I don't use cell phones all that often, but there's other stuff that you can now charge off of USB. I've got some phones that have USB chargers, not phones, walkie-talkies that have that. 120 out, yeah, that's what I'm loving. And the fact that it has a nice plug right on the side for our solar charging in 100 watt panel gets you charged up in no time, and I'm just digging it, man. Thanks to 741 again for turning me on to this product. I didn't know it existed. I had made the video on the Geartis one some time back and was like, I wish they could improve some designs. Well, Opus did it, and I love it. I guess that'll do it for today. I'll leave a link in the description below on how to find this on Amazon. Not entirely the cheapest thing you're going to buy, but again, it solves all the problems that some of the other smaller or less expensive models have, so I would recommend it over some of those other models. Take care.